Good morning. Today's shiur is on the Rambam Hilchos Mikvaot, Perok Halacha Gimel Dalid, and then also Ches. So this is a halacha about holy objects, but not Holly, but Wholey. No, I'm sorry, Holey. Not W. Take the W out. So he speaks about a sheikis shebesel, a trough in a rock. Ain't a place as a mikvah ain't a kli. It's not a kli. It's not a vessel. We're talking here about mayim shuvim and what constitutes mayim shuvim, either to make a mikvah posel or to be considered a good mikvah to table. And he goes on to say, "Aval kli shechibroi bisela hoisel es hamikvah afal pi shechibroi b'sit." If you attach a regular vessel to a mikvah, it doesn't become mikvah. Nikva milmato oy minatzad kishveferes hanei ksheira ve'ina b'sel hamikvah. Then it's good. But I give a shiur. Okay. Now remember, here he was attached. Now you want to make it into a good keli to table. You need a what's it? You need a share of shifres on it. Okay, halacha daled. Here starts the fun. Somebody takes a big barrel, a big barrel, a big container. We spoke recently a shiur about holes that make something tar. He made a shiur that makes it tar. Now that shiur is not so big; it's less than the much of a pomegranate. It's not the shiur of sheferes hanei. The kavay ba'aretz va'asu mikveh areze kosher. Then it's kosher. He goes on to other halachas here. Well, that's the main point we're interested. Comes along the IYUN and says, not true. That's not what we're talking about there. His halacha does not become tohar with a hole that's mevatlet from a kli, and therefore you can table it. Whoever heard of such thing. It doesn't pass a mikvah with the water coming from it. But no, it's not considered shuvim for that sake, and with the halachas that would make it possible. But to make it a mikvah, it's not a mikvah. Without a sheferes hanei, it's not a mikvah. Okay, like I'm invited. Not the first time we've come across that. We will get back to it, obviously, because the Rabbi signed a good time. Why? What happened to sheferes hanei? Halacha ches. Now, when we're talking about a barrel, usually talking about earthenware. Chavis is made out of earthenware. Now comes a wooden item. Shida v'hateva. That's a box. The boxes are not made of earthenware. Shebiyam. They're in the ocean. Listen to this. Interesting story. They're in the ocean. Ein madbilin bahem elam kein kuven kisheferes hanei. Tamo shiur sheferes hanei. The Rambam does bring that shiur. We're in the ocean when the keli is in the ocean. What is that supposed to mean? What's going on here? So that question is asked by many. And the Kesef Mishnah, Al-Asar, right away asked the question. And he brings up the source, Mishnah, and Mikvaot. So he says, what's the pshat? What's the pshat? Here, there it's a lot less. So the Kesef Mishnah tells us how you say in Gadol that Sorach IYUN Gadol. He says because Akli Cheres becomes tar with less than a Shusharis Hanei. So finished. Ice Kaylee. Good. Goodbye. She the table, which is made out of wood. I'm sorry. Klicheres is less than a Rima. A Rima is bigger than a Shusharis Hanei. I made a mistake with that. Let the record stand that it's correct. So the shear of a Klicheres is less than a Shusharis Hanei. The shear of a Kli Eitz is more than a Shusharis Hanei. So listen to his wording. I'm sure like that share I might see Rima. Ro Chachamim. Saw the Levat light. Mitayris Klil in your mikvah the Sagalim Shusharis Hanei. To share master linear request. So the Chachamim said, don't have to have the big hole. Small one, 2 fingers. That's it. So he says, what are you doing here? Well, the Tzarech Shiur, Nekev, Yesegado. Has to be even a bigger one, right? Tzarech Shiur, Nekev, Gadol. That's even a bigger one. So what's going on over here? Empfit the Kesef Mishnah word. The Shiura, the little tumor, Tahara Lechud, the Shiur linear Mikvaot. Shiur to Matar is the Mikvaot. What's that supposed to mean? Sound like Kabbalistic. What is it supposed to mean? So, if you really want to get to the bottom of this whole sugya, I suggest you go to the Tzemach Tzedek, Yeridea, Simen Kuf Ayin Vov. It's a tshuva that's as long as they come. It's a tshuva as long as they come. Beautiful, beautiful long tshuva. And he explains the Ravid and the Rambam. It's incredible piece. Way past our time and area that we're going to deal with. We're going to focus on a very local area. But if you really want to get to the bottom of this whole Indian, that's where you go. But let's try to understand the Kesef Mishnah. That's our goal. What is this supposed to mean? Shiur letumah lechud, shiur what in the world does that mean? I mean, what kind of words are they? And everybody tries to explain it. I haven't found an explanation that clearly clarifies what he means. Second, why did they choose Shver Sanai? He says because it's in your Mikvaot. What do the Mikvaot have to do here? Would that be my Mikvaot? And then we have the Arrivensteiner. That's not what we're talking about. Again, the same time to some degree. The bottom line is, Shiur is l'chud, but it's a keli. At the end of the day, it's still a keli. Without kemaitzi rimain, Shver Sanai doesn't make it ois keli. Yeah. And then the psul of keli is learned from a pasuk. We'll talk about soon in the shaila of in the Peskim whether we say that that the Rambam seems to hold that shum is with the Rabbanon, but keli is not with the Rabbanon. There are those who say that it might be, but that's not what it sounds like. It's learned from pasuk. So what kind of role come in? We don't come into a psul from a posuk. Okay, so to understand the Gesem Mishnah, perhaps I don't know, to try to understand the Gesem Mishnah, I want to at least give over the Kuda that I saw for Reb Chaim in Chidush Reb Chaim Halevi on this Rambam. He doesn't go with the Gesem Mishnah's Mahalach. It's obvious because Gesem Mishnah doesn't hold what he's saying. But he has a Mahalach. And so it happens to be a very, very beautiful approach. So I want to go through it because I believe that we can extrapolate some points from him and maybe understand the Gesem Mishnah, how the Gesem Mishnah saw this. So Reb Chaim comes along with his usual approach of two dinim. And he says, there is a Shiur Sheshvaris Hanayid, which is the gap in Mikvaot. It's not about Kalim. It has nothing to do with Kalim. It has to do with making the waters one. Making the waters of two entities one. And this helps by Shida and Teva. Why? Because it's all one reason. Because the Mayan that's in the Shida in Teva, sitting in the ocean, they become one, and it's as if they're in the ocean. And therefore you can be tight. And there's a second thing called a shear of breaking a keli, that it should be ice keli. And therefore the Mayim Shuvim is not Mayim Shuvim. Because it's not a keli anymore. And that you need Chidei Tarasa. That's as you say. Two things. There's an Indian of here, why is it? Okay, well, what are we doing here? Okay, so he says, he goes even further. He asks the question. Why don't we deal with Shida Teva and the Yam and say that it's Chidei Tarasa? It's good. And he doesn't go into the fact that they're kliyates. Even if he says, even if they would be klicheres, you may have to. You would need it. He doesn't. Since the Rambam says the halacha stomach, there are others who say that too. The Rambam says the halacha stomach. It's lav dafka that it's talking about kliyates. So he says like this. It's not because like it's clear. It's not this kesemish, not the kesemish. He says that the din that ain't table became. We learn from a pasuk. Now, what's the pasuk? Pasuk is you need the water that's in the karka. Ma mayon sheikre bekarka, mikra sheikre bekarka. So we're not table in a keli. It's not because of psulim keli. It's as not the karka. You need the water to be the karka. So he asks the question, what happens if the keli get broken? Who cares? The keli, sheva keli, it's not the karka. Oh. So now here comes his chiddush. If you take a keli and attach it to the ground, and it's not a keli, meaning because it has a hole, and it's the shear of the hole is it's attached to the ground. So now it's mayim shebekarka, ikram bekarka. Beautiful. So now the kviyus in the karka helps. By shida teva should be yam. It's not in the karka; it's in the yam. So it's not going to help. Ice keli is not going to change anything. It's still not in the karka. So what do we need? Now, not being a keli is not enough. That's this chiddush. Not being a keli is not what it's about. I keep reiterating, because Mishnah holds it is about that. So what is the hechsher The hechshe is of Eruv Mikvaot. That the waters are mixed to the point that this water is considered in the ocean, and once it's in the ocean, it's considered in the ground. And that's the sheer difference. Even a klicheres, that's a big move to that. Even a klicheres in the yam is going to need His whole world. Okay, but the Kesef doesn't hold that. He says clearly, Shiur l'tum l'tar l'chut v'ilin l'kvais l'chut. Has nothing to do with Fakir, and he holds clearly that the Shiur is talking about a Kliates, and it's all about his remind. It sounds what it's not as well. Okay. So what is this? What? How could we explain the Kesef? So I want to say that let's just again extrapolate some points that Rabbi made and maybe attach them to the Kesef in a different way. Kesef holds here two dinim in bittul kli. There's a kli that becomes bottle mitzadatz, right? Because it's bottle, because it doesn't have a shear. There's a kli that can become bottle mitzad the fact that it is capable of becoming attached to something else in din. When it's bottle mitzad atzmai, not to talk about it. You need mitzizayis, miklicheres, mitzirim, mikliates. That's when you want to be mevatalit mitzad atzmai. But when you want to be mevatalit mitzad mikveh, so you want to be mevatal the kli. There's another way of being mevatal a kli. When it's shaykh to become part of something else, meaning it can become bottled to something else. How do you make something bottled to something else? Attaching it, that's not going to help unless it's not a kli. Then is a mechadish. It loses its not like if I get in a certain thing even better than okay. By the fact that it can become an Eruv Mikvaot, and it will become an Eruv Mikvaot, obviously that's what we're talking about. And you can be mechaber l'mei mikveh, so that makes it its own entity. Eruv Mikvaot means it makes it its own entity. It's not anymore its own being. And therefore the Mayim becomes Muravim and it becomes all one with the ocean. And that's a secondary way of Bittul Akli. But it only works in a place where halachically it is considered part of something else. That takes away its Kli shaft when benegayit the things that are negayit that it's shaykh to, which is mikveh. And that's what the Kesef Mishnah says. Shiur the Tara l'chut should in mikveh you don't need totally ice kli. You need ice independent kli. It's not its own kli anymore. That's what Shifai Sanay does. So what's a roch? And the Rambam doesn't seem to hold this with the Rabbanan, as we said. And I'm going to get into the discussion about it, but we'll leave it for now. So, there says it. But there, cloud. What's Mevatel Akli will help it become part of the mikveh. Shiur Chachamim only means that they evaluated and estimated. Similar that the Rambam says by Abba himself. In Perek Dalet Halacha Aleph previously, Rambam says, Din Teirish, Shekol Mayim, Chunosim, Tevelim Behem, Hu She'yibem Teilahalas, when they Tvila L'chol Guf Adam Basachas, and the Rambam holds in the Reisa. And he says, Shiur Chachamim, Ama Alama Berum Sholosh Ames. Shiur Zehu Machzik Memso. And just to note that the Rambam changes the Lashon Gemara. The Gemara says Shiur Chachamim that Rambam Rumal is 40 sa. Rambam says that you Mishayir that this whole shiur of Alama Berum Sholosh Shabbos. The Rambam says, come and evaluate what the shiur that will make this into a kosher tefillah. But it's a deraisa. The same thing here. What the Kesef Mishnah might mean when he says V'ro Chacham is they analyzed why would we need the bigger shiur when I have a way of making it ice keli for mikveh through Iruv Mikvaot. So again, using Reb Chaim's logic that it becomes one, you can say that that attack is a bit likely legabe mikvahs. That's what is shaykh. Everybody have a great day, and we will shkeach.